Albion Online just released Foundations patch number 3 officially on the live server today, and there are official changes to the Claymore. It's now overpowered with the parry strike, and it has been changed into an AoE, along with other changes that are already live right now, and we're going to look at it all together. The first thing, though, that we are going to look at before the changes is the gold main Pegasus. If you have bought the Silver Founder Pack, the Albion Europe Silver Founder Pack or higher, you are going to get the gold main Pegasus, which is this. It looks freaking amazing, honestly. It looks super good. And if you did buy the Crystal Founder Pack, you are going to get this as well. The horse skin, the armor horse skin. So it says here, to celebrate the successful launch of Albion Europe, we have added the brand new gold main Pegasus skin to all accounts with Albion Europe Silver Founder Pack or higher. In addition, Albion Online Europe Crystal Founder Packs receive the Armored Gold Pegasus. This is for the Armored Horse. These skins are immediately available via the appearance menu and are not tradable. So, this is what we have been talking about in the past. Albion Online has amazing skins, and they would make so much more money if they just literally reskin some of their skins, recolor them. Just recolor all of the skins that you have, make it available, maybe even for just like $4.99, right? Just for the mount skin, make it available for maybe even like silver or gold. You can make it that so that everyone can have it, but just reskin the already existing skins and give us like new skins every like 2 months or so. But continue to just recolor some of these skins because this looks really fantastic. Now you have like the light, which is the white one, the dark, which is like the greenish one, and also now the gold main Pegasus, which is my favorite among the three, and I am going to continue to rock that even after new skins have already been published. So that's pretty good. I believe you still have a chance to actually buy the Silver Founder Pack, so maybe this is a good time to get that because the gold main Pegasus skin looks really good. All right, so let's look at the changes officially. We did look at this in the past, but it's now official. Let's look at the combat balance changes. For the axe, the Bloody Reap on the Infernal Scythe, the damage when target below 40% is now nerfed, and also with the damage above 40%, it also is nerfed. For the axes, or the Infernal Scythe in particular, you usually see this in 2v2 Hellgates with one shot. You also see this sometimes in the Mist, but not very rarely in Brawl meta as well for ZVZs and some small scale. This is actually really good. They are nerfing it just a little bit. In terms of ZVZ, I don't think this is going to actually have large effects or huge effects on the usage of this specific weapon. Still pretty good, but just know that it is now slightly, ever so slightly weaker. Moving on to the bows, the Demon Arrow on the Wailing Bow. Again, this is not used really in any type of content right now. They are making the cooldown from 30 seconds to 25 seconds. This used to be an option for ZVZs, but I think in the recent years, I would say, there have been more significantly better options than the Wailing Bow. It's not even really good for PvE, not really good for PvP, not for solo, not for small scale, not for ZVZ. So I don't think the Wailing Bow is going to receive any uptick when it comes to usage. So, but there's that. There's it's a little bit of a buff. For the hammers, the Dread Laden Fighting on all hammers, the CC strength increase. This is one of the passives. Is now from 50% to 35%, and this is going to be across some of the other Dread Laden Fighting on some other weapons as well. They also did improve the visual effects, and the Groundbreaker and the Pole Hammer improved visual feedback to better communicate the actual area, speed, and the stun duration just a little bit increase there on the Pole Hammer. I don't think this is going to be much of a change. You can still see this in some of the one-shot builds for 2v2 Hellgates, for Stalker Corrupted Dungeons as well. Some of the cheese builds there. So that maybe that 0.2 seconds might increase the usage of this, but I don't see it being part of the meta anytime soon. For the spears, the fling on the glaive, this is going to be increased, buffed just a little bit from the base up to the 3 spear charges. I guess this is a weapon that is usually for just cheesing or trolling. We used to use this for when our territory is being attacked and we just fling them inside the territory. The damages isn't really the thing that you would consider when using the glaive. It's more of like the CC, which is the fling to the back rather than the damage. But there you go, just a little bit increase in the damage. Maybe it helps with some of the cheesing here as well for territory defenses. But there's that. Look at that. Okay, so this is where the meat of the update is going to be at. The swords. There are 2 buffs for the swords. The parry strike, which is the block ability basically of the sword with the reflect. They have increased, and we have talked about this in the past when we saw this change. 100 to 125 is unheard of when it comes to reflect damages. You have 100% reflect on your deflecting spin, 85% on your hunter hood, I believe 100% reflect as well on the counter for the gloves, and 50% reflect on the demon armor. It's just to name a few. Nothing has ever gone above 100%, but this time it is now true. 125% reflect on the parry strike on all swords. And I actually did try this earlier on a Claymore, on the fire staff, right? Against the fire staff, and it was nasty. 1W took out 40% of his health, and it's just insane. So to those who are using the fire staff as their main, if you see a sword on the parry strike, make sure to use your quick cast E rather than like a full cast E. That's what you are supposed to do anyways when someone has a reflect. But just be careful with this. It's just insanely strong. Another comment that I saw on the previous video that we did for this is that it's only 0.8 seconds. The thing is, it's only 0.8 seconds, yes, but it negates all of the damages. Compared to the deflecting spin, when you have increased damages, 100% reflect, but you still take damage, the reflect on the parry strike is immunity to all damage. 0.8 is more than enough, actually, to deal with the E of the Quarterstaff, the E of the fire staff, and all of like really telegraphed high damage. Parry strike on the right hands can be really, really powerful. So there's that. Swords, rejoice. For the charge on the Claymore, charge now deals damage to all enemies it passes through. This is the only change that we saw actually last time, where all of the damage is the same all throughout the enemies that it passes through, but they did add this to the official patch, which enemies pass through receive 40% of the damage that the target received. That means when you go through the enemy, instead of taking that almost like 1000 damage on a tier 6 in an open world, you are only going to take 400, which is a really good change. This actually makes it so that it has a difference between the carving sword now. Again, we talked about this in the past, but the carving sword deals exact same damage, shreds exact same damage resistance on all of the targets hit. Now there is a little bit of a distinction, although now it is targeted still, right? Compared to the carving sword, which is non-targeted. It is still targeted, but if you pass through an enemy, it's just 40%, not the entire damage, which is, I think, is a pretty good compromise for how the change of the Claymore actually was implemented on the live server. For the maces, the defensive slam on all maces, the duration from 3 seconds to 4 seconds, not really that much, but that could actually be a really good change. That's 33% more in terms of the duration. And this is what we talked about as well, the dread-laden fighting on all of the maces as well, similar to how we have on the hammers, 50% to 30%, and improved visual effects. The sacred ground is being nerfed on all of the maces. The area duration is no longer 4 seconds, but now is 3 seconds. That could actually be like a huge nerf, because having like the sacred ground for 4 seconds actually is really crucial. But if it's now 3 seconds, similar to how they nerfed the 4 seconds of the Hunter Hood to 3 seconds of Hunter Hood, it will still be the same. It will still be okay to use in most contents, but just so you know, it's now only 3 seconds. So don't be surprised when you put your sacred ground on all of the maces, and you'll be like, oh, what happened? It's just shorter now. The area duration is 4 seconds to 3 seconds. The Blessed Aurora on the Oath Keepers. This is the one where it just gives you like sort of like a curtain when you pass through. Increase max targets from 5 to 10. That means you have 5 more allies that goes through will be affected. This is actually where when you deal damage or normal attack, I believe, you heal yourself. So the healing range has been increased as well from 6 meters to 8 meters, making it more viable for more small scale. Maybe even ZVZ, but not really. More on the small scale. And I don't really see this having any effect on 1v1 because you do see corrupted dungeon players playing around with Oathkeeper sometimes. But this is mostly about the small scale fights for the Oathkeepers, now affecting more players. For the Quarterstaff, similar to how we have it for all the maces and all the hammers, the Dread-laden fighting on all the Quarterstaff increased the visual effect, but take a look at this. No CC increased nerf. So it's still at 50%, or like where it's at right now. It's just improved effect as well as with the maces and all the hammers. For the War Gloves, the rush down, the passive where you normal attack, you increase your movement speed. They increase now from 20% to 30%, giving more gloves, more mobility, because they definitely need a buff on the mobility. Although the rushdown isn't really a skill that a lot of players actually use. So there's that. The shockwave on all of the gloves. Now the first cast cooldown is from 4 seconds to 3.5 seconds. The second cast cooldown is from 6 seconds to 5 seconds. Just gives you a little bit less cooldown. It's 1 more second on the second cast and 0.5 seconds on the first cast, which I think is pretty good because a lot of players now use like the double punch. I don't even know what the name is. The one that slides and like uppercuts you. This would be a good alternative now on the Q ability for the War Glove. So we'll see if this actually becomes part of the meta in some of the contents in Albion Online. The counter on all gloves. This is the counterpart, no pun intended, to the parry strike of swords. Added a new combo attack, the follow through. Now for 4 seconds, dash to the first target marked, and the dash range is from 20 meters to 32 meters. The cooldown is 15 seconds. In the past, counter would make you stand still for 1.2 seconds. If they attack you, if you receive any damage whatsoever, you dash towards that targeted player automatically. Now this time, the follow through becomes a re-clickable skill where for 4 seconds, if you do the stance, you take damage, that person will be marked. And for the 4 seconds, you have the ability to choose to follow through or not. They also increase the dash range because you do have, again, the choice to do so. And I think this is a really good change for the counter on the War Gloves because you no longer can be cheesed. Because there was a scenario back then where a mob actually attacked him while being on the counter stance, and he just got flung into the mob, which basically negated his W. So this is actually a good thing. If a mob, in this case, attacks you, you don't have to follow through, but you still have that defensives, you still have that stance, and the cooldown still is at 15 seconds. Now let's move on to the ice block on the Clerical. You can no longer cancel the skill yourself. So in the past, you would ice block for 4.75 seconds. Whenever you want to just get out of that ice block, you can. But this time, they are nerfing it, and I don't know why. It's probably because of ZVZ. Some tanks and some of the brawlers do tend to use ice block to just stay still, take no damage, and just pop up whenever they want to. Now, you can no longer do that. It's now nerfed from 4.75 seconds to 4 seconds, and you have to stay there for the entire 4 seconds, making it easier for people to actually like time their skills. Similar to how you would time your skills after like a cleric robe, maybe like a soldier helmet. It's fairly easy now to time that with your skills. On the armors, let's look at the nerfs on the Hellion Jacket. The Hellion Jacket on their Lifesteal Aura, nerfs across the board. They have basically nerfed the Hellion Jacket. Now, if you want more lifesteal on the leather jacket, you want to go with the mercenary jacket. But still, the Hellion Jacket I wouldn't say it's still pretty good. It's just that it's now nerfed to a point where you can no longer rely heavily on your Hellion Jacket to save you, especially in a small scale situation, maybe even like an arena. You can't rely on it. Now, fully, you need to have better defenses because it has been nerfed across the board. So that's basically it. They didn't really change a lot when it comes to the previous patch that we saw on the test server. The only thing that they actually added was this, as far as I can remember. This is the only thing that is significant enough to have changed from the patch notes from the test server. So there's that. To those who are using the sword, rejoice. You now have access to 125% reflex. And all to the Claymore users, rejoice as well. You are now AoE with your E ability. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Let's discuss. Or better yet, join us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Burnstone.